are calling. It's twilight time.
Where did you two move from? How long have you been married? And why don't you have children yet?
Listen.
Deep in the dark, your kiss will bloom.
This is really happening.
Like days of old.
Come on.
With rings of love.
Am I dead?
No. Why would you think that?
Because you are.
Come on. Like,
That is so brutal.
We are an unusual couple, you know.
Oh, I don't think that was ever in question.
listen.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Spinner Rack. I'm here with the boys, Petey and Cal. And today we're talking about what? Wandavision episode 3. Oh my goodness. Hey, it's live and in color right now. So today, the episode basically talked about, we went through the whole pregnancy or her light speed pregnancy of Wanda and Vision, but many different things came about that shed some light a little bit more on what's going on. You know what?
Well, Mars, tell us about it.
As well, one of the things we come to find out is this pregnancy, it moved on rapidly. You know, basically at the beginning of the episode, you know, which was a bewitched, no, more like a Partridge Family, Brady Bunch style opening. We basically find out that she's pregnant, and basically throughout the episode, she goes from being 4 months pregnant, till having kids. Excuse me. So yeah, it was pretty enlightening. But you know what we start finding out is that some very interesting things. Some things are starting to come apart, as we may say. Some things are starting to be more illuminated, and we'll get a little bit more about some of your impressions of this particular episode. But it was particularly interesting that if you read House of M, you will not be surprised. So I'll just say, if you read that, it's a different story, but some of the context, I guess, some of the things that are happening help to explain what's going on. So let me put it off to my boy, Petey. You tell me what your thoughts are so far of the episode. You can reveal some of the things you want to reveal, and then we'll push it on to Mr. Ellis. Petey!
Well,
I know,
mind,
that's what I'm saying. Petey!
well,
You hear me?
Yeah.
I'm just calling you, Petey!
Oh my gosh. All right. I thought that was a glitch in the Matrix. Anyway, or in the was it Westview? It's like sort of like what you just did was like a glitch and that sort of thing. Ultimately, this episode is kind of I think most people are pointing out the Easter egg. It's sort of an Easter egg. This whole thing has been like an Easter egg story where there's a lot of bits, even in the sort of those sort of diamond sort of things in the open, all these things hinting to you ideas, but they kind of were really trying to spoof the TV pregnancies. But the TV pregnancies go through the 9 months. This, you know, the thing what they do is they rapidly age the kids. They don't necessarily rapidly age the pregnancy. It doesn't really change the 9 months. It really messes with the actual jumping of ages, instead of having a baby struggling with that and having babies crying on set and that sort of thing. So it's kind of reverse spoofing, and then kind of being like having the stork kind of like literalize the stork walking around. That sort of stuff is a little too wacky for me, because it wasn't something you would see in any of I guess you could say I Dream of Jeannie from that time, or the what's that other show? The Brady Bunch. The Brady Bunch, that sort of thing. But ultimately, I think the changes they made, because this one is really, even though Steve Englehart's Vision and Scholarwish miniseries happens in the 80s, this is sort of right in the vein of what Steve Englehart was sort of doing. But if that was the case, they should have done the full Englehart and not sort of rushed the pregnancy. They should have done because Englehart plays it out for 9 comic book months, where they had the baby. It conceived in issue 3. The babies are born in issue 12, so you can play it out. That was 9 months, and they should, they had, even though it was a wacky way to show the conception, they should have had a moment where you kind of, went the full Englehart, instead of saying, well, on TV they wouldn't allow you to do this. Well, it was kind of, in the comic books, they didn't show you anything full, but they show you that moment. And it's like, they kind of made these changes were unnecessary. Kind of this wacky sort of pregnancy really never worked for me in the comic books, and it's not working in this show for me. But ultimately, we have this big moment with Geraldine. I called her Guinevere because I couldn't remember the name in that last episode, but it's Geraldine. She has a moment where we have this call to reality, where she remembers her brother, which has Petro and whatnot. So she remembers that. And then what's the name says Ultron killed him. And she says, what? He said, what? She like, be what? And then next thing you know, bounces her out of it. So ultimately, I would worry that they're going, instead of having Immortus or who's that guy? Mephisto, sort of the cause of it. They're going full Bendis on us, and maybe having Wanda being part of it too. I don't really want her to be her one. I'd rather the villains be the mechanizing this into making this happen. And it seems like it is, but she does seem to have part of it, because I think the spoilers have been, the people who've done the Easter eggs have keep talking about that Twilight Zone episode where someone was in control and had the power. So, and everyone's kind of placate Wanda, and that's something I'm not really keen on. But I can't say it's necessarily better than the other ones. I want to get to the meat, and if you're going to do these sort of things, I really wish the jokes would land. So that's what I got to say.
Boy, do we have a lot to say about all that stuff there. But hey, let me pass.
You got any disagreements?
Some disagreements, serious disagreements. But let's not take away from Ellis, who's definitely going to shoot some holes in what you just said, bro.
Yeah, right.
Is this a gang up again? Another team up?
No, you. You said you're gonna go against me, but let's pass it off to Cal. What do you have to say?
So, Mr. Ellis, please inform us, and please be use your knowledge that you have. Of course, just make sure whose side you're going on when you're doing these type of things, okay? Because the truth and justice follow those who know what they're saying.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. If it actually did follow, I mean, anybody who's familiar with the comics and read the second Vision and Scarlet Witch limited series in House of M, some of this stuff, well, if you read that, you realize just how off this one is, because at the very least, there was a storyline going through that. This right over here, we really have no setup. There's no foundation to what's going on. We're not going to find out what's going on probably until like episode 9, the way that they're dragging this out. And then, you come over here. I mean, the whole idea is, I guess they were trying to tap into something dealing with television history. And so then you come over here, same thing, like how are pregnancies handled on television? Because a lot of the time the pregnancies were actual pregnancies. You had the actress, and she was pregnant. How are they going to shoot it? Was it going to be incorporated to the story? Very rare that she was pregnant, at least at that period of time, and there was no baby, and there wasn't any baby coming. But then, like you said, I mean, this is like one of the fastest, the babies are born.
All right. Your ice for your mouth? The mouth? Okay, mouth is dry. The mouth is dry? Okay, fine. Go ahead. I caught him! Yes! Martin, wait, hold on, man! Where's the umbilical cord? Damn it, Tommy! We don't need an umbilical cord! This is TV!
And afterwards, it just becomes, this is just like an Easter egg hunt. I'm watching this to see, oh, okay, yeah, I remember this, and this right over here, and there's Sword, and so on and so forth. If you're a comic book speculator, hey, this is probably great for you. You watch an episode, you go digging through your back issues, you put them up on eBay, ka-ching. You're making all of this money, but there's no foundational story here. We're going on episode 3, and the biggest criticism that I have regarding that is that we are working with these. It's obvious these people can write. It's obvious these people can write, and you have a cast that can act. Everybody's turning in stuff, and it seems like somebody, almost like an edict, like, don't give them anything. Okay, don't give them anything. This has to be a show. This is like the Seinfeld show. This is a show about nothing, but it's not good.
Yeah.
We're not even going to make the nothing funny. These guys are just going to roll, and then by 8 or 9, okay, fine, you're going to get payoff, but you still have to wait all of those episodes. look at, say, The Mandalorian. Okay, everybody loved The Mandalorian. Any bigger story that was really coming into The Mandalorian never really shaped up. These were typical like 1980s episodic television. Each episode, for the most part, was self-contained, and any longer story was pretty much wrapped up in about 3 episodes. So it didn't have to be this long, drawn-out thing. They can do the same thing right over here, but they're not doing it. It's purposeful, and I don't know how far you can go with that before it becomes. I mean, I think there's a person. I think you can go so far with it where you're asking your audience to be patient, and then you go too far with it, and it almost seems like you're asking your audience to be stupid, and then that's borderline contempt for your audience.
Yeah, I'm in full agreement with everything. So, Mars, what were you feeling?
I'm clearly in disagreement. I don't know what you guys.
Well, let's go to what your thoughts were, and then we'll go to your disagreement.
And I think that's pretty interesting that we keep seeing these commercials with Hydra, like the last one's the Hydra soak, I believe it is. And it tells you that it's informing us that there's probably someone else in there that's helping her to shape or continue this whole thing going forward. That's what.
Helping her to shape it or manipulating her.
Manipulate is probably a better word. Correct. Manipulated. And also you have Agnes, who seems to be someone who's outside of the purview of some of the other characters. She seems to be able to go from one place. She can talk to Wanda and bring up things, and she doesn't seem to be scripted like the other characters are in the show. And then she keeps talking about Ralph. Who the goody goo is Ralph? He hasn't been seen. He hasn't been pointed out. Is this something in Wanda's subconscious that's holding that particular character back, or fear or something? Or is it like what some people are speculating, that Ralph is Mephisto?
No.
I don't know what?
No, Ralph isn't Mephisto.
So, I mean, some people are pointing out that that's his name. He's been called that in other comics, but no, who is he? What's going on? What are they trying to do? There's been a lot of Easter eggs dropped here. And I think that's really for the comic book fans, which is great. But, it takes away from what is the story. That I kind of agree with you guys on. Is it improving? Is it moving forward? It's finally moving forward. We're seeing things happening. We're seeing the sword agents in the background when they kicked out Monica Rambeau, and we're seeing what's going on. That they have to have this whole operation around this town, trying to see why this huge red or pink force has taken over the town. It kind of reminded me a little of the show from a book from Stephen King. I can't remember what it's called. It was on CBS at one time. It was called like The Dome. The Dome, where these people are localized into one area. Scarlet Witch is the one who's running it all. I mean, overall, I'm finding it better. The first 2 episodes were slow as hell until that last no. But now I think it's definitely picking up, and I think as it goes forward, I think it will do better. I kind of understand. I'm hoping they don't do what Cal said, that, we're going to wait till the 9th episode of the 10-episode series that they're going to finally reveal what's going on. But I think it's going to pick up pace as time goes on. I think people are going to like it.
What do you mean it picked up pace, though? You mean there's more stuff happening in this episode?
We're seeing more stuff
water
happening
broke and it rained everywhere, like that stuff.
In terms of revealing that she's more in control of what's going on, than initially we were led to believe. And
that's the thing, though. Is she more in control, or is she being manipulated?
Well, that's a good point. I keep saying you're right, but we're just seeing that at least she's expressing the power that she has. Like when she said in the 2nd episode, when she told that sword, and then here we see where Vision he's at the very edge of saying, I think something is weird here. Things are not what it is. And then she just started that whole thing again, like he started. She's controlling that, when Geraldine brought up the stuff about her brother, she's like, huh? What did you say? And then she kicked her out, She's controlling those elements. Her powers.
Has Wanda been like a Bumblebee character where she mentions TV all the time or has these references? In the Avengers, no. They're going to have to reveal a past where she was stuck with Hydra stuck in front of television, and she was.
Expressing it this way. That's the only thing. I don't think they just the producers say, hey, let's try if we do it this way, going through the decades of TV. And they're like, yeah, we'll tie it to Wanda, as opposed to anything else. I just think that what's the big thing that's going to happen? Is Vision really alive? Is he not alive? You know, is this all a figment of her imagination? Are the kids even alive? You know, are they not? You know, how are they going to bring that into the real world, if anything? You know, I mean, look, when she kicked out Monica Rambeau was still wearing the same clothing, Geraldine, right?
Yeah.
Is that supposed to disappear? Is it supposed to go back into, you know, but you know, these things are weird with TV. Sometimes they wear the same things forever, sometimes they don't. I'm just trying to see, does it physically manifest when it comes in? Did she go in as a spy initially? And that's why people are saying, hey, where did she come from? You know, why is Agnes even saying that? Why is she spreading those rumors? She doesn't have a home. Probably because she's like, hey, Agnes is like you say, she may be the one who's manipulating. She may be the one who's manipulating Wanda, and so she's trying to get this particular character moved out or whatever. You know, she's not part of the narrative that she's trying to.
I think that was one of the weaker elements, that they decided that she just someone who appeared, because how do we know? Like, the only way you can pay that off is that they explained it in dialogue, but there was no way for us to know that she wasn't a part of this town. You know, outside of her not being in the first episode, it's like, hey, well, how do we know that any of those people are, you know, like transplants or stuff like that? It wasn't a strong enough bit to sort of do the outside of having the sword sort of thing on her and the necklace, that bit maybe, but then trying to add another bit where Agnes knows, hey, where did she come from? It's like, she's like everybody else. Did everyone else sneak into the thing or something like that? We don't know what it is.
Nabs, unacceptable.
So it's supposed to be a small self-contained town, right? And so Agnes, I think, is
the audience,
right? But for us, the audience, and for us,
how do we know? How do you visually introduce a character when people just walk through Lucy's front door? When you watch the new people that come in, we never ask the question when they have some new person that shows up in the show. Where did that person come from? How did it happen? How did
we have kind of a set of the audience when we look at the second episode, when they're doing it for the children, right? When they're having that whole magic show and stuff, that looks to be the set of the town, because we even have Agnes saying Ralph couldn't make it or whatever, you know, but you see her, the boss and everybody else is there in that episode, I believe, you know, a lot of them are there. And so we feel that this.
Do you remember the episode of The Honeymooners when
no, that's
remember the mambo dancer moves in?
Yes.
And we don't ask, we know that the mambo dancer moved in, right? So to add you know, some more story to it, one of the other people in the building comes down to the Cramdens and say, my wife, she do the mambo, she do it like this, and then she do it like that. They knock all over the dishes, that sort of thing. But we don't need to explain, hey, we never saw this person before. Where did this person come from? Like, they just live in the town.
But she interjects. Agnes comes in and tells us, she sets that up, that she's not part of the town. She's not part of them. And that gives us an idea that, hey, well, what is Geraldine? What's she doing? You know, and where she's coming from. You know,
I'm saying it's just an extra dialogue thing that not really something you could pay off, because we don't.
I think it paid off. She got kicked out. Wanda kicked her out.
But she could kick anybody out of that thing.
Right, but I'm saying she kicked her out. It's like, who are you? You know what I'm trying to say? Whereas we didn't get the same thing with the others. That's my take.
Different Mars. Mars is going with it. You really liked the episode, didn't you?
I liked this episode better than the others. I gotta say, I'm getting some clarity, and I liked it. You know,
what clarity did you get? At the end, if they reveal that this is like, because we've obviously seen in the Endgame, right, where Tony Stark worried about his daughter, and the daughter is still alive, right? So right. The Marvel Studios, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is definitely a sort of a Kate and eat it. They like their cake and eat it too, right? So they introduce these babies. They're not going to be interested in wiping them totally out, like in the comic books. In the same way the comic books brought them back. Once you have this pregnancy, they're going to try to keep both in line, right? That in this construct, they had these kids, and we're going to bring them. If they stay in this town and it's in a regular world, but those kids aren't going anywhere, even though it's really hard to imagine how there's going to be a lot of dialogue explanation to make this work. because it's in this construct, and I don't know, it's just weird. And if it's a part of Mephisto, there's a lot of questions, and it's going to be tough to sort of rationalize it outside of just saying, you know, to suspend disbelief. That was always the hard part in the comic books. And you can see a lot of fans reading it. They don't even look at the story of the Vision Scarlet Witch thing, how they conceived the kids, and how with their, you know, the actual concept when they were actually born, those things, people just look past it and say, no, they just had kids. And they just like, oh yeah, no, he's what was it? What's that guy? He's Human Torch. So Human Torch had human parts, and that's how he had the kids. They know that's not how it happened in the story. And so people just start making it up and explaining it, where I don't know if it's going to push in the boundaries of having these two have kids. And I don't think that they're going to have, probably for the fans, they're not going to want to take those kids away to have Wiccan and the other character, or whatever the character's name is. But it's going to be a hurdle. It's going to be a big hurdle for me. So,
I mean, so in the comics, the two kids, what is it, Wiccan and it's Tommy and Billy. They're mutants. So, I mean, usually when you get your powers through birth, are you a mutant?
In the Marvel universe, yes.
So basically,
can you give us some background on them, on those two kids?
Asking me or Mars?
Cal.
Well, they're born.
Well, when they came about afterwards, when they got the names Wiccan, and like, where did those guys come from?
We had that period where John Byrne decided that those kids were never born, so they got pulled out of they were pretty much pulled out of reality of Marvel. But then they reappear in Young Avengers. In Young Avengers, they are Wiccan and Speed. So, and then they meet within Young Avengers. They don't even realize they're brothers. And then they're like, wait a minute, we're brothers? Oh, Scarlet Witch is our mom. And she's like, the hell? What happened? I thought you guys got erased from the whole time stream. And they actually became members. They actually became members of the Young Avengers and appeared in that the first volume of Young Avengers, which of course has actually spiked in price now.
Well, ultimately, one of the harder things is in the Vision and Scarlet Witch miniseries was the pregnancy, and especially as I mentioned before, especially issue 12 was I think it's I don't know which one it was, but one of them appearing in the delivery room, and Vision and Doctor Strange, who's the guy who's he's been, I guess you would say, the midwife. He's been the doctor this entire time, and he's like, that baby, I don't even know where that baby came from.
It's a girl. Is she normal? Oh, as far as I can see, she's beautiful. Can I see her? Oh, yes. Oh, there you go, Grandpa.
Oh, Rob. Oh, she's beautiful.
Okay, give her a second. Oh my God. We're having twins.
What is it?
I don't know. Oh my God.
Vision's like, that's cool, that's right, because that's my baby, that's how it happens, because you know that because he's special. And it's like, what just happened? So you know, I think later when they were removed and they were like saying where these babies sort of came from, which, you know, connects to Mephisto and a bunch of other things. I mean, there'll be fights over the kids for forever, but ultimately, I think fans now are kind of keyed into it. But if you will reading it and paging the sequences, how they played out in the comic books, Master Pandemonium, the idea when he gets the souls and he gets all 5 souls and it's still opening, and it's like, yeah, it's not 5 sides, it's also the middle. And that's where Mephisto comes in, because Mephisto obviously wouldn't be, he'd have some sort of hook, which was kind of cool to happen. So, but most people, I think, that's why I still believe the way Cal is talking, that fans are gonna want these, whatever these kids are, to stay in this book, in this TV show, and it's just not something that it's almost like, hey, the spilled milk is there, let's not clean it, you just gotta leave it there, and let's work around it.
They're gonna keep the kids, because they got some other plans where these kids can actually fit in. They're going to age these kids up quickly. Okay, they're going to age these kids up quickly. They'll be teenagers by the next episode, full-grown adults, you know, full those and grown to kids of their own before the series is over. That's the case.
Well, say it, Cal. Say Feige's
you got
pushing the Young Avengers for a while.
The largest spec, one of the largest speculative books was Young Avengers #1, because everybody thought this character named Kate Bishop was supposed to be coming out for the Avengers movie. And that book went from nobody caring about it to $100 book. I don't know what it goes for right now, but it's probably more than that. But all of that ties into Young Avengers, which they're going to do. That's going to happen. If you see Secret Invasion, yes, that's just like the low-hanging fruit. They're going to do Young Avengers. They're going to manipulate a whole bunch of these characters that came out within the last 10 years. So that's going to happen. So these kids over here, as they come out, they may disappear in the series, but they won't be gone. We will definitely see them again. Much to Petey's chagrin, those kids are not going anywhere.
I'm saying to you like this: do you want to see Avengers 5 and Avengers 6 with the Young Avengers, with Hulkling and all of these wacky offshoots of I would rather have A Next done by Tom DeFalco and what's the name? That's not even that great.
Did you read Avengers: The Children's Crusade?
No, I didn't read that.
Like in the last issue #9, there's this gay kiss between 2 of the characters. I think Hulkling and Wicked, or something of that nature. That was the big selling point for that book. That book got banned in, I think, Brazil or Peru, because either the mayor or the governor was like, what the hell is this? You can't show this here. You know, that's not going to be at the end of it. But, okay, that's pretty much where these cats are going. They're like, okay, this is all the stuff that we can tap into. Do I want to see a movie with those characters? Not particularly. I didn't want to see Avengers. I didn't want to read that in Avengers: The Children's Crusade. I thought it came from out of nowhere with no build-up whatsoever. But that's where they're going with it. And I don't really have a lot to say until they look at our resume and decide to put us on. And as I've said before, all the conversation that we hear now, okay, once the mouse blesses us with the cash, we will clean things up a lot. Okay, but right now, I'm gonna be anti-S, phobia this, until the mouse comes over here and blesses us with the cash. As soon as I hear Mickey, well, boys and girls, I guess Calvin Ellis doesn't want any money. I'm like, oh no, Mick, I'm cleaning this up for you. But until then, this stuff was just some wild stuff. It came from out of nowhere.
Well, listen, I want to just go over a couple of quick things just to make sure that the people out there understand what's going on. One, anyone can answer this question. One, so is Ralph Mephisto? Yes or no?
Cal answered that. He answered that. I would go with what he was saying on that one. I mean, I don't have any stake. I don't need anything staked in it, because they're just going to explain it to me as we go along. If they trying to add that, I would rather say no. You know.
Okay. And Cal, what did you say? Yes or no? Cal, did we lose him? I guess we lost him.
Well, Cal said, no, it's not Mephisto.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask the second question. Boom. So how did Vision create the kids? Are those kids really Visions? I'm just saying.
Their love created the kids in Salem in this dark arts thing. Their love, somehow they connected, and she used their magic to create the kids. So somehow their spirit, their love.
No, I was gonna say, bottom line is, regardless of how the kids are created, they're gonna be attributed to Vision and Scarlet. So those are gonna be their kids.
They seem to be copies of the powers, at least, where Wiccan, his powers are similar to his mother, and Speed is similar to Pietro. You know.
So you're saying it's illegitimate? They're not his kids.
I'm saying they're more a reflection of her.
Saying that they bred true. She bred her own mutant powers, her twin powers, her wonder twin powers into the kids, and Vision had nothing to do with it outside of giving a William.
In the case of 1-year-old Kimbella, Kenneth, you are not.
I thought it was always named after Simon Williams, but no, it's after William Shakespeare. Go figure.
In terms of the kids, I mean, look, come on, man. You know, you got recessive genes. They don't necessarily have, well, one has magic and the other one can go flow through walls. So they're obviously from both of them at this nature. You know, they're their kids.
All right. So overall, this episode, what do you think? Up or down, Petey?
I'm still, they haven't shown me enough for me to give it a thumbs up. I'm still on it's still like too wacky for me.
Cal. Well, Cal just
leaning towards that because I can't judge this episode by episode. It's really the show. So as of right now, you gotta wait. You gotta wait because right now I'm not too happy with it. But then episodes 4 and I mean this is just happens with the type of TV we see now, where the first 2 episodes can be very plotting, and then it picks up with 4 or 5, and you're like, oh, this is great. And you have a good time. Can't judge this on this episode. Can't give a rating based on this episode.
It just seems to me that you guys are pretty lenient. Again, I think I want to point out that the MCU fans are pretty lenient relative to other shows that they're giving this show a lot of leeway going forward before people will slam it or whatever. And I guess that's the goodwill that Marvel's built up over the years, so you can't knock that at all. But my assessment, and I think that it will be, which is in the majority, I think that I liked it. I think it was a definite improvement in pacing, as well as the revelations that came about. So I thought that was pretty good going forward. I hope that they build more. It's better than what it was before, and I think it's going to hopefully get better as we see more, because it's a slow unraveling for us. So everybody, ladies and gentlemen.
Listen, before you go, I'll still ask the same question as last time. Would you go back and watch this episode at a later date?
I did.
No, I'm saying after you get past to the point of whatever episode 10 or whatever the last episode are, you can be like, you know what? I need to go back and watch the episode where she gives birth.
For enjoyment, not because we got to do a show, we got to be critique on it. For enjoyment, you're like, you know what? I actually want to see that episode.
Yes, that's what I'm pointing to you, Mars. What do you say?
And I say yes. I did watch it twice, and the second one was for enjoyment.
Wow, with a straight face. Wow.
I would give you credit if you said the second episode, because at least there was a lot of stuff going on there, and they had Elizabeth Olsen in the glamour outfit that outfit. I would give you credit for that.
She was dressed appropriately.
Yeah. So it was, and they had fun in the episode. But
I saw that episode twice, and I thought it was pretty. I thought,
I'm saying when you're sitting around, you say, I need to see, when you wake up and you like say, what, I want to see the episode of Lucy where she tells Ricky that like they're gonna have a baby, like that sort of thing. Those moments when he goes from table to table, and it pays off every time, even though it's a surprise. When Ricky goes, No? You? No? And he said, hey, honey, how you doing? And he's looking around the table like, honey? And you see her, the camera, yes. Oh, it's me. She's having a baby. They're having, we're having. Like that sort of natural moment that they had there was powerful. So that's what I would go back to 3 million times to watch.
One of the moments I liked in this episode that I had to rewatch, and I thought it was pretty interesting, is that you have the doctor who comes in and says, hey, the baby is 3 months old or 4 months old, and Vision's like, how? And she's like, we get a man and you get a woman, and they get together, and Wanda was like, yo, chill with that stuff. But the very fact that he goes out later, the doctor, continuing the whole joke with the doctor is supposedly going on vacation. He goes and grabs the doctor, brings him back and stuff like that. The first baby's born, and he helps with the second baby. And then Vision is taking him back, and he's like, on vacation. He's like, are you going to go back on vacation? He's like, I don't think I can actually, I can't actually leave this town or whatever. It doesn't seem. So people are starting to see that this isn't all, that this is the construct that they're in is not necessarily a normal construct. Even though they may have some type of, they're part of this whole setup, it's also, they understand that they're working within the constraints. And I thought, that's pretty interesting. So I think that is something that you can continue to watch. And the little minds, you can go in there, and those little type of things, you mine it and you get the interest as you unravel the show. So again, like I'm going to say, the majority of us agree that the show was.
No, I'm not done yet. Our last bit is the Coneheads. The Coneheads did this in the movie way better.
My blue barb has broken. The birth spasm has begun.
Where what's the name? Where
Coneheads. You talking about Dan Aykroyd?
Dan Aykroyd in the movie when Lorraine Newman, her character, is about to give birth, and the water breaks and it floods the entire basement that they live in. And then next, Sinbad and the other character, they come down. They're like, "What's going on here?" And then they go to the emergency room, and they like, obviously it's an alien giving birth, and they're like, they had the camera up, but he's like, he can't look. He's like, "Oh, come on!" That's what they're going for, and they did the reverse. It's like, "Oh, we can't show the water breaking, so let's do the rain and the thing and whatnot." But you're still saying that the baby's coming out through the vagina where they have she's behind the couch. So why can't they just have the water breaking?
Mars fainted. You said vagina.
Yeah. Why do you have to say that word? So let's
okay, you want me to say a different word? Can I say another one?
No, but like,
can I say a different one?
You don't have to say that. It shows we know what's going on. You know what I'm trying to say? And look, I'm not going to disagree with you. Some of those jokes did fall flat.
Thank you. Finally, that's all I want.
I just said overall, we are in agreement. There was a general, the episode did move forward, and that there was some interesting bits there. Once again, I think Elizabeth Olsen is a star. I mean, she's really, she did not get enough light in any of those Marvel movies. We just saw little spikes of her, and especially when she was
I'm gonna do for you.
Especially when she was
the show. You said move forward. The show moved laterally. That's what the show did. It didn't go forward. It just moved laterally. They're still stuck in there. They showed you some sword stuff, so maybe you get an inch, but it did not move forward.
And remember, a train wreck can move forward.